Every Monday, I was on a new diet. The moment I decided for real, I need to do something. I don't need to know the exact path that I'm going to take. I don't need to know all the answers right now. That's what stopped me in the past. It wasn't about that anymore. It was about feel that you are doing something about the issue at hand and feel uncomfortable, feel all of those things, and you are taking the right steps, because without feeling all those things, then you're just doing the same thing you always do.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Digest This podcast. I'm your host, Bethany Cameron, and today on the show we have Melissa Alcantara. She is better known for training Kim Kardashian, but she's also known as Fit Girl Mel on Instagram with over 1 million loyal fans and followers. She is the author of the book Fit Girl, The Total Body Turnaround, and creator of Fit Girl Mel app, containing at-home workouts, meal guides, macro classes, and so much more. When Melissa was pregnant in 2011, she was sick and constantly exhausted. Her pregnancy was so difficult that she dropped out of college and began to eat everything from donuts to cheesecakes to pizza. And she made a commitment to lose the baby weight and transform her body. But she couldn't have imagined how much it would change her life. And she's here today to share her story and inspire you to get out of the rut. All right. You may not know this about me, but every morning before I drink my daily coffee, I actually drink electrolytes first. There's 2 reasons I do this. 1, your body is naturally dehydrated from the previous night's sleep and is craving hydration. And 2, coffee actually dehydrates you, even though it is technically a liquid. So, rule of thumb, hydrate before you caffeinate. I personally use Element electrolytes in my morning routine. It's literally the first thing I drink every single morning. I stick to their raw, unflavored version, which contains no sugar, no flavorings, no coloring, and no fillers. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of salt, magnesium, and potassium. And their unflavored version has only those 3 ingredients. Element is by far the cleanest electrolyte drink I've found on the market, and I've been looking for a while. Other electrolyte drink mixes have added sugar, maltodextrin, dextrose, gums, and even added oils. Electrolytes are essential for our body to function. So you want to not only make sure you are getting them in your body, but you are getting the best kind. There's also research to back that when you keep hydrated, there are lower risks of anxiety and depression in individuals. So whether you just finished a workout, sauna session, or just waking up in the morning, Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited for those following a keto, low-carb, vegan, or paleo diet. Right now, Element is offering my listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packs free with any Element order. To get 8 free packs, you must go to drinkLMNT.com/digest to get this offer. Element also has a no questions asked refund policy, so you can try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. You have nothing to lose. So go to drinkLMNT.com/digest to get this amazing offer. I'll also leave that link in today's show notes so you can easily scroll down and order with just one easy tap. Welcome, Melissa, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I have tons of questions. I have fan questions that people are asking you. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about your personal journey because you do have such an amazing story. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your story and your pregnancy?
Well, Do you guys have enough wine? We're gonna need a few bottles. No,
Okay, all right.
no. Well, I mean, it's really crazy how, I'm here right now, 38 years old, and my life pretty much took a like 180 when I was 32. Um, and it seems like forever ago, and at the same time, like yesterday. So I grew up in New York, in the Bronx, and I lived a fairly common New York type of life, like in the hood. I lived in a building my entire life, and we grew up poor, Section 8 and food stamps and all that. And that was just my life. That's just the way I knew life. And then I moved to Brooklyn when I went to college. I met my husband there, and I got pregnant when I was 25, and I dropped out of school because I was always sick. And it's just nuts. I was never like a healthy person. I didn't grow up playing a sport. I in my family and the culture, it's just kind of like about eating food. I mean, the good thing about the Dominican culture is that you eat food, and people say like, well, what does that mean? And I like rice and chicken and, vegetables, or, we didn't really eat vegetables, like lettuce was considered just like the vegetable, And so, but yeah, my mom cooked pretty much every day, even though she had two jobs. And so we ate a lot of home cooked foods, and that's how I was brought up. So after I had Bella, my daughter, at 26, I fell into like, postpartum depression. I was so unhappy with myself, my life, I didn't have there were just so many things, like no goals, no direction, and now I'm a mom with like nothing, no career, no high level of education. I was married. I was living in the Dominican Republic at this time because my mom had dementia. So we had to count on Victor's family, which is my husband at the time. And so I was just in a really low place. I had this new baby, and I gained 70 pounds during my pregnancy. And I was like, holy hell. Like, oh my God, I'd never been this big. And growing up, I had been like a yo-yo dieter because I didn't know anything about eating healthy food or exercising or any of that.
So you said you were always just feeling sick. Were you feeling sick and just tired like before the pregnancy, or do you feel like that brought it on?
Probably both. I ate shitty. And yeah, although, we cooked at home, we went to like these like low level supermarkets, and, the chicken was like $1.99, and you would buy like a whole chicken, and who knew what was in that? It was just like probably had been there for like 3 months. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, a combination with what I was eating, the quality of food I was eating, not taking care of myself, not exercising. It was literally like everything. And I feel like a lot of people live that way now, and they don't even realize that they feel shitty until they feel good. Right. So you don't even know how bad you feel until you actually feel good. And you're like, oh man, I thought that was normal. Make a long story short, after I had Bella, I just kept feeling like there was no control over my life. So I decided to do a fitness program called Insanity by Beachbody. That was like, all the hype back then. And, people were doing these programs at home because they were home, no equipment. I did it every day for 60 days, and I lost 40 pounds, and I could not believe it. It wasn't even about I was like, I can't believe I actually did something and I stuck to it, and ever since then, it's almost like I was addicted to the fact that I can make a decision, and if I stick to it, I will get results. It's like math. It's like, if you do this every single day, you're going to get results, and you're also going to get better. Right. at what you're doing. That decision to do that program, and it wasn't even the program itself. It was, honestly, I feel like you can do any program in the world, right? And I'm talking about fitness. If you stick to it, the what you learn from that and what you get from that is not the program itself. It doesn't have to be the perfect program. It's the fact that because you are actually doing something, now you're getting answers to some of the questions that you have about yourself, right? That you are looking for in somebody else. You want the world to tell you these things, give you these answers about yourself, but you can't expect people and other people to know more about you than you do. You actually have to take steps so that you can figure out what works for you, what's good for you, how does this work in your day? How can I make this better for me? And so it's pretty much what I did. And it's the best decision I made in my life. I mean, so much more came after that, but I'll wait for the question.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's true. When you start to see a change in your body or even in a mental state, it encourages you to keep going. And then there's this upward spiral of, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep feeling good. I never want to go back to that dark place, etc. And what was that light bulb moment or what was that like spark that drove you to really change your way of eating and get healthy again after a pregnancy? Like, did you have that aha moment or?
So funny. People ask me that all the time. And I try to like go back in time and remember, because I had tried so many times, just like any person would tell you, right? Oh, I've tried that diet, or I've been, I fell off. And I was that person. Every Monday I was on a new diet. Every Monday I was trying again. There was a new something. But the moment I decided for real, I don't care what the results are. I need to do something. I mean, I don't need to know the exact path that I'm going to take. I don't need to know all the answers right now. And I think that's what stopped me in the past. It was like, oh, I need to know the outcome of what I'm doing. If I do 60 sit-ups every single day, am I going to have the abs? It wasn't about that anymore. It was about feel that you are doing something about the issue at hand and feel uncomfortable, feel all of those things, and you are taking the right steps, because without feeling all those things, then you're just doing the same thing you always do. You know what I mean? Like, you have to feel change. And so by feeling all that change, I was like, this is what I need. This is amazing. But I think I was just so tired. I think it was just like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. I couldn't anymore. And I couldn't like do this like whatever diet or stop eating, starve myself, or go running for one day of the week and tell myself, yeah, I'm going to run every day and not run every day. It's just like, I was so tired of like lying to myself, not being able to rely on myself. I couldn't trust myself. I was at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And I was like, I'm just going to choose this one thing and I'm going to stick to it. And I'm just going to do it. And let me tell you, it's not that it's like a light bulb, really, because you may decide, yes, this is what I'm going to do. But how many times do people decide, yes, I'm starting on Monday and I'm going to do this? And it's almost like a light bulb effect, right? But do they stick to it? No, it's almost like a light bulb effect every single day. You know what I mean? Until it becomes almost like a natural, right? You fall into a flow of things. But every single day I had to wake up and be like, remember, you made this promise to yourself and this is what you're going to do. And then the next day, remember, hey, don't fall off. Like, you got to keep this light bulb going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to like reignite every single day.
Well, it's almost like you almost have to get to that rock bottom point to really make that decision, whether it's a fitness goal or whether you're trying to eat better or go for gut health, because speaking from experience as well, people ask, well, why do you, eat the way that you do? Or do you ever have like a craving for like Taco Bell or whatever? And I'm like, you know what? No, because I know what I'm going to feel like after I eat this or that. And it's not just going to be like an hour of like bloating. It's going to be days. Sometimes it'll take a full week to recover from one crappy meal. It just depends. And I'm like, do I really want to feel like that? So you have to say like, do I want to feel like this? No, I don't. And I feel so much better. And Melissa, you have created an empire. You really have, because not only do you have an incredible book, you have an app, you have, your online programs. You have this cult following on Instagram.
You woman, I remember, when I first started following you so many years ago, and I was like, oh, I love this woman, and I just love everything that you did. And still to this day, and I always like, every time I'm around people, I'm like, do you follow Little Sipper? Like, do you follow Little Sipper?
Aww. You're so sweet. I feel like you and I can definitely relate in many ways. And one of the ways is that you take no BS. Like, you're a no BS woman, driven, and I just love it. And what you have accomplished from your past, your struggles, to now where you are today is just amazing. And I want to get into that more. And, I want to talk about, your meal plans and all these things, but to even come from where you started to where you are now, to training celebrities like Kim Kardashian and all these crazy people, like not crazy, but these, high profile, it's just a great testimony. And so to that, I do, we did have some questions. One was, how did you obtain, or how did Kim Kardashian find you, or did you find her, and how did you become her trainer?
Well, that is such a crazy story. I swear. I feel like it's like J-Lo should play me in a movie at some point. I swear to God, because it is the craziest thing. So me, my husband, my daughter, and dog, we lived in a basement apartment in Brooklyn. And I was working as a photography producer on Varick Street in New York. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I had just found myself kind of like in fitness, and I started working out. And that was at the time I was doing like Insanity. And I found like a new love for myself and for fitness. And I wanted to see where that was going to go. So I quit my job as a producer, and I started working as a hostess at a local restaurant in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. I went from like $100,000 a year to $7 an hour. And my husband was like, what in the world are you doing? And I was like, trust me, I have a plan. So I kept working out, focusing on myself. I started training a few friends at a gym. So I was kind of like training people outside of like my restaurant job. And I decided to do a bodybuilding competition because I was like, well, I know nothing about bodybuilding, and I know nothing about, that side of the world, but I would love to do it and challenge myself and see where this goes. And so I got a coach. First, I signed up for the competition. Then I found a coach. And then, because that's the way I work, I'm like, I dive into the Shark Tank and then I figure it all out. So I got coached and, did the whole macros thing. And oh my God, it was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. So, and not to like go off track, but I put up a side-by-side photo of me on Instagram. So it was like my bodybuilding competition body. I had just won. I won the competition in 2 categories. And I did like a before and after. And back in those days, which was like, 5-6 years ago, you would share a photo on Instagram and it would like blow up,
For sure.
So I had no followers, no nothing. It's just like a mom in Brooklyn, working at a restaurant, doing my own thing. And she found me on Instagram Explorer. Like she was just scrolling one night and saw this transformation photo on like a transformation page. So she didn't even see it on my page. So like one of those
They
weight
like
loss
reposted
pages.
it or something.
Yeah. And she had her production company reach out to me through like a company number that I had, which was really like a Google number. So we get this message and it's like, hey, I'm contacting you from, Kim Kardashian's blah, 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 from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And Kim would love to train with you. And we know that you live in New York, but would you be willing to come out here? And
What?
yeah, my husband was like, hey, I come home and he's like, hey, there's a message here from Kim Kardashian's people. And I was like, shut the F up. And he's like, no. And so we were like, okay, let's calm down. And he's like, so he sends them a message and he's like, hey, would you please send us an email so we know this isn't a
It's
scam
legit.
or like
Yeah.
spam. So they sent an email with like NDAs, all this stuff. And we were like, holy shit, this is like for real. So the crazier part of the story is that 1 month before this message came in, we sold all of our stuff. I'm talking about we sold our sneakers for like $6 so that we can have enough money to move to California. We bought our one-way tickets to California 1 month before this happened. And when I spoke to Kim, because they were like, do you have some time to actually get on the phone with her? And I was like, yeah, well, let me check my schedule. I was like, yes. So I get on the phone with Kim and she's like, hey, would you come here for a few weeks and train me and, teach me kind of your ways? And I was like, Kim, I bought my one-way ticket to California. Like my whole family, we're all moving there, next month. And she's like, no way. And I'm like, yes way. So it was just a happy coincidence that I was moving to California. And then, yeah, trained the Kardashians for the last 6 years.
What a crazy story.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It was like, no way. We were coming to California. We had no money. We even like faked papers to get an apartment. so that it looked like we can afford it, and it's nuts. I was selling a $50 like a digital program online at the time. And I remember when the first episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians came out, I was on the first episode. And, that whole season was going to be about Kim and her journey in fitness. And I made something like $40,000 that day. It was the craziest thing from a $50 digital program that I was selling. It was my only program on my website. It was all that I had. And we literally paid our debt that day when that episode came out.
I just got chills. Like, what a blessing, really, And now, okay, so that happens. Now you are set to write a book and now you have this app. And so questions, macros, like not to like switch gears here, but I do want to go into some deeper questions. And first of all, did you help Kim just with training or did you help her with her diet? And then also, what does your diet look like today and tips for someone wanting to transition into a healthier lifestyle? I know those are like completely different questions, but kind of geared all around diet and that kind of thing.
So we started with both diet and exercise. And I started her on a macros plan because I wanted her to know what she was eating and how much she was eating. And it wasn't even really about how much, but really kind of like what she's putting in her mouth and if it has any nutritional value or not. Because if there's one thing that macros do, they show you, at least for me, they show you how much crap you're putting into your body that you think has nutrition, but really doesn't. It's just like you're eating it and maybe you feel full for a little while, but there's no nutrition in it. There's nothing to break down because there's really nothing there.
Can you explain for like the bare basics, the difference between macros and calories for those listening?
So macros are protein, carbs, and fats, and then there are micronutrients. But for macros, how the general see it is protein, carbs, and fats. And so calories are made up of these macros, right? So every gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories. I mean, it's super complicated if I have to say it, because you're just like, all the math that's going on in your head. You're like, wait, but hold on. So let's say you have 130, like you weigh a piece of chicken and it's 130 grams, right? That's protein. So for that 130 gram of weight, each one of those grams is equal to 4 calories. So now you multiply 130 times 4, and that is pretty much the amount of calories of protein you're eating a day. So what's 130 times 4 is like, I don't know, 600 or something like that.
And would you recommend macros for everyone, like counting macros? Because that was one of the questions. Or would you say just like focus on more of a nutrient dense, look at ingredients, look at the nutrients versus over like a Pop-Tart,
Oh, 100%. I cannot follow macros now for the life of me. It's too many numbers, too many restrictions, too much thinking involved when you're really just trying to eat well and live your life and be happy. You know what I mean? If it's so complicated in that way, it can turn on you. Macros is something that a lot of the time start out very unhealthy, and hopefully you have a healthy relationship with food after that. But I mean, for a long time, I couldn't eat bananas because my coach was like, hey, bananas are high carbohydrate. And so I just stayed away from fruit for years. And this was because of the whole macros deal. Everything was about protein, carbs, and fats, carbs, and fat. And like, making it as simple as possible. Like, don't use any oil in your chicken because that's the fat. And then you have the fat from this. And it's just like, an avocado is like 25 grams of an avocado is 6 grams of fat and 5 grams of carbohydrates. And I saw food as a number and as like, how does this fit into my, how I look?
It was a number over nourishment.
Yeah, it was more like, how does this fit into how I look versus how does this fit into how I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And that was really difficult for me to transition out of macros. But when I did, now when I look back, I'm also grateful for it because it did teach me, hey, you're eating all this crap, but it has no nutrients in it. So, there are kind of ways where you can manipulate macros, where you can add other like little things like, oh, you have to hit 25 grams of fiber a day. So, it gets really complicated and we can sit here and talk about it for hours. Trust me.
I know I kind of went off topic, but you were focusing with Kim on macros at the time.
Yeah, in the beginning. And then I told her, I said, listen, we're going to focus on macros for now. And then we're going to go into more of like, now that you have like a little bit of a baseline, I want to get your calories up. I want you to be eating more just like actual meals instead of kind of like snacking or, feeling like you can't eat because we're going to be working out really hard. And so, I want you to eat. And I want you to eat well. And then she kind of like found her own way. And, she eats really well. I mean, her and I eat together all the time. And it's like, we eat the same amount of food and she's tiny. You know what I mean? Like she eats. I was like, holy moly, but yeah. So, I have a relationship with her chef and she eats home cooked food most of the time.
If you're not subscribed to my newsletters, they come out every Friday and they're called Friday Finds. This is information that only my subscribers get in their inbox. I share stuff like non-toxic air fryers and kitchen appliances, new food finds, product recalls, food news, and food products that aren't even on the market yet, but I've got the scoop. This is not published anywhere else and cannot be found on my blog. So be sure you're in the know and subscribe to my weekly newsletters by going to littlesipper.com/subscribe and enter your email. That's all you have to do. So go to LILSIPPER.com/subscribe to get exclusive information on everything food. Would you say that that's kind of the diet that you followed as well when you first started your own journey?
When I started with Shaun T's like food plan, and it was like, it wasn't like healthy plan. I wouldn't call it that. It was more of like, get a certain amount of pretty much protein, carbs, and fats, but without the macros. You know, he didn't make it about macros. It was more about, here's your food plan. Just make sure you eat this, you know, choose from this list, this meal a day. So I was eating things like 4 ounces of ham, you know, like at 3 p.m. with like 6 almonds. You know what I mean? Okay. I didn't know that at that time. I was kind of doing macros because it was just a meal plan that I was following. But I think that in itself, again, just any kind of like food plan will let you see kind of like what you're putting into your mouth, right? When you're starting a fitness journey, I feel that everyone's struggle is like, what do I eat? What do I eat? And for me now, I want people to actually eat food. Most people just snack all day long and they don't feel satisfied, right? Satiated. And satiation comes from so many things. It's not just a full belly, but it's the texture of the food you're eating. You know, like you want to feel the carbohydrate that you're chewing.
And healthy fats. I mean, if people don't eat fat, they're never really going to feel satiated because fat is just, and protein is so satiating.
Yeah, that's that filling, you know, feeling that you have. And, you know, there are just so many components to it. I remember eating. I didn't eat the book. I kind of did. Like I read it, the Whole30. I don't know. You probably.
Yeah.
So do you remember when it was like super popular?
Oh yeah. I mean, people still do it. I feel like people do Whole30 like in January as like a reset. But I remember when it was like super popular and like that was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I learned a lot from the Whole30, and it was mostly not necessarily what to eat and what not to eat, but how hormones affect you, you know, and what happens when you eat, and like leptin and ghrelin and, you know, all these things, right? Because a lot of the times you think you're just like this crazy being and things are just happening to you. And it's like, no, there are hormones, and those hormones are dictating, you know, a lot of what it is that you're feeling. If you're hungry, if you're full, like, you know, all of these things.
Well, they can make you crave certain foods. And if you're putting crap into your body, you're going to actually crave more of that. And it becomes an addiction.
Yes. So imagine you eat like, it's like you eat salty food every day, right? Salty. You put more salt on your food. And if you eat something that has some salt in it, but you're going to be like, oh, this is like, you know, doesn't have any flavor.
Yeah. It's like sugar too. It's like even if you add like crazy, I know people are going to hate me for this, but if you add like stevia and like 0-calorie sweeteners to everything, then a strawberry does not taste sweet to you. You know, like you can't appreciate the natural sweetness of things from the earth.
Oh, yes. Like I used to drink my coffee with like 10 sugars. It was nuts. And now if I even have 1 sugar in my coffee, like it's because I drink coffee black with no sugar. But if I do have a sugar in my coffee, I can taste it so much, like the sweetness in it. Mm-hmm. It's really crazy. And when I think back, I'm like, how the hell did I drink my coffee with so much sugar? It was like, you know, in the bottom, it's like mud.
Concentrated. It's crazy. And I watch your Instagram stories too. And you have like this pour over. Don't you do a pour over?
Yeah, every morning. Like clockwork.
so therapeutic. You guys have to check her out on Instagram, watch her stories. But it amazes me that too, people can go to Starbucks every morning and get the frothy frappuccino latte. And I'm like, did you not get like a headache the day before when you got that?
No, it's nuts. I see it all the time too. And I'm like, and I try my best to be that person who's like, okay, well, this person does this because that's just what they know. That's how they've been
Yeah.
doing it for forever. And there is this fine line between like, that's what you know and ignorance. And then there's, I'm choosing to do this, even though I know it's not the best thing for me. Like,
Sure.
and it's hard in this world too, because as soon as you say something about something, they're like, oh, well, why are you being so this, or why are you being, yeah. And it's like, oh my God, you can't say anything anymore because that's it. You're like a judgmental asshole. But it's like, bro, you don't want to do that anymore, but you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting something else. Okay, I understand that, a lot of these things are addictive, but once that awareness comes to you, you have to make a decision, and a very hard one. Do I want to make a very hard decision and break that habit that I want to break? Or do I still want to make a hard decision and not break the habit and keep living the same way? Either way, it's going to be difficult. You're just kind of choosing your difficult every day in life. Life is hard a lot of the time. And it's not a bad thing. People just go through things all the time, and you constantly have to make decisions every single day. You're making decisions literally all day long, like what time you brush your teeth. Are you going to brush your teeth before or after coffee? Are you going to take your dog out? If I do, I'm going to be late. It's a constant, right? This constant thing all day long, and you're making all these decisions. So
there's that saying, if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done.
Oh, 100%. And you got to feel it, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like you feel those decisions, every difficult decision, every decision that you make that is kind of like breaking a habit, right? That you don't want. It's felt. You don't just fly by through that, you don't just like walk down, you walk down the same street every day, right? You walk your dog, you walk down the street. And you walk down the street. Now you've taken that street for granted. And now that street is just, it's whatever. You don't even realize you're kind of thinking about something else. You're not even really present anymore because you're in the zone. You've done this so many times. But if you walk down a different street, you automatically become more present. You're like, oh, well, I've never been down the street. Now you see the tree you've never seen. There's that house you've never seen. This awareness starts to come to you. And you're like, oh, well, maybe you find something new there. And that is why I like experiencing different things and trying different things. And, I'm always a learner, and, not to get off the topic, but I do love a challenge, and I do love challenging myself in things all the time because life is challenging. And so if you get used to kind of being challenged and putting yourself in positions where you can be challenged and overcome, right? Because you can, for the most part, you can. If you decide that you want to, that you really, really want to.
Yeah. Well, life doesn't get easier. You just get better. That's another, good saying. I love that you're just a no BS woman. And so I do have some bullet point questions here just about what are some key tips when someone is deciding to change their lifestyle and habits that everyone can do, no matter what their social status, income, etc., right? You don't have to like join a gym, or you don't have to go on this like super expensive like diet plan. Like, what are some things that everyone can do no matter what?
You don't have to be, again, super rich, or you don't have to join a gym. I started with no money. I was there. And I think that's the best part about like my journey, and, with a lot of people, but I did grow up. I came from nothing. I was just like this normal, regular person. Still I am, struggling every single day. So I understand. But I didn't have the means, and I didn't have the background. And it was just something that I had decided. So I think it's a hard thing. It's not easy, but is simple. You have to decide, okay, I'm going to do something different, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be the right thing, because there's really there's no right. There's right for you right now. And that's the best kind of thinking, like, so in terms of like fitness and health, I'm going to say, choose, like, be honest with yourself. Don't say, I'm going to sign up for the gym and I'm going to go 5 days a week. What can you actually do? Like, can I work out twice a week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Specific
You start
goals.
small. Yeah, and make them like small, not like these giant changes, like maybe you don't change your diet completely. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to drink water and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe water, coffee, and tea. Those three things. I'm going to try that for a month. And I'm not even going to change my food. Like maybe you don't even start working out at your house, but you say, for 20 minutes, 3 times a week, I'm going to go for a walk. There are people who are extreme, like me. I'm the kind of person, I'm like 100% or zero. And that's just kind of, that's how I go. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm all in, guys. Like, but for most people, they are so concerned with the goal and how far they are from that goal that they are stagnant. And so I'm going to say, delete any goal you have. Like, I know you want maybe abs or chiseled arms, right? Because a lot of people are thinking this way versus, how do I feel? Am I healthy? What's my lifestyle like? Am I being good to myself? Like, I think that in the beginning, for the most part, it's mostly about aesthetic, right? People are looking and they're like, oh, I want a big booty and I need to do more butt programs and and it's like, but you feel like shit. And you like, how are you going to have that thing if your mentality is already like in a terrible place, And it's not that, again, you have to be in the perfect place, but if you start with small little goals and you can actually do them, this week, I'm going to work out twice a week. If you actually work out twice in that week, you're going to feel good about yourself. That's a win. But if you say, I'm going to work out 5 days a week and you work out 2, you're automatically going to talk down on yourself. Oh, of course, I didn't do it because I'm a failure. I do this all the time. Like, what did I expect of myself? I can't ever do anything. If you're that kind of person who does that kind of talk, in order to change that kind of talk, it's like, let me set myself up so that I can actually do, complete the thing and feel like I have succeeded in these tiny little challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start adding from there.
Yeah, I think that's key, is setting yourself up mentally before you actually do the things physically. And setting specific goals, like you said, attainable goals, drinking water, hydrating. I mean, that's something everyone can do. Even if you like, oh, I want to like lift weights, but I don't have the money to buy weights. Like, use things around your house, use jugs of water, like canned goods. I don't know, just,
Yeah, I mean, and there are other ways. There's tempo, like training, or you can do stuff in your house that's going to help you build muscle. And again, anything you do, you just have to get started and you have to build a little bit of that confidence in yourself and that trust. I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do this. If I start in my house, I do push-ups, sit-ups, whatever I do in my house, I'm going to follow this like at-home program. I have an at-home program actually on my app, and I feel like I love doing it because sometimes I'm home and I'm like, I don't want to be in the gym with a ton of people. Like,
yeah. Or sometimes it takes like, 30 minutes to drive to the gym. You're like, I could have done something in 30 minutes at my house.
Totally. And, people also, it's like, it's difficult to have a job, take care of your family, cook every day. Oh my God, all the expectations. Seriously, Bethany, it's like, I sometimes I look at Instagram and I'm like, okay, so I have to be self-aware, a conscious person, be kind. I have to cook for myself. I have to go shopping. I have to clean my house. I have to be good to my dog. I have to take care of my daughter and my husband and pay my taxes and go to the bank. And it's like, holy hell, who the expectations that we are also putting on ourselves is immense, and it's not sustainable. Nobody is doing all of these things at 100%.
Well, and to add to that, a lot of people too, they look at these people, these influencers or these high profile people, and they are the super mom, and they have 2 jobs with the kids and everything is perfect and this, that, and the other. And what people probably don't realize is they have probably a nanny, they probably have a house cleaner, they probably have an assistant for themselves, but they don't show that online.
No, it's completely true. And even it's nuts because I'm pretty sure you may even feel like this sometimes, especially as a person who's known on social media and who has a large following, that you're just like, guys, I'm just like a normal person, struggling, going through the same things as you are. Like, please do not see me as like, this higher power. I'm literally trying my best every single day. And you can count on that if I'm like really, really, really succeeding in this one spot, then there's another place that's kind of falling short. Like, guys, these muscles, yeah, there are dishes probably in my sink waiting for me right now, like maybe I didn't take my kid to that basketball game, like also, this is what I do for a living at this point. You cannot expect to do this what I'm doing because this is my job, So I want you to know that, like, it's not normal, like you wake up at 5 a.m, you go to work, you have kids, you have things. Trust me, I get it. You don't want to go to the gym after work, or, like you're like, well, how am I supposed to cook a meal right now when it's hard? It's hard. And you have to decide those things, right? And see how these things fit into your life. I always say the results of your life show where you hold certain things, their priority, right? So, if you're like super aesthetic, muscular, fit, blah, 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 it's like, then that's a high priority, right? Item on your list. Then other things in your life start to fall short there, right? So then everything else falls kind of like under that. Or if you have like a beautiful, spotless house and you're like a homemaker, then maybe your fitness is more on the bottom and that's just at the top, like you're like the ultimate mom, but there's no time for maybe you or your dating life or whatever it is. Like, trust me, your life and kind of like what's happening in your life shows where your priority list kind of is.
Yeah, no,
for the most part.
For sure. And like you said, you're a super fit woman, you're active, but you're a personal trainer. This is your job. Someone that's cooking all the time and people are like, man, I just don't have that time. Well, if you're a chef, that's probably, that's your job. Or like, you're an interior designer. Well, of course your home's going to look beautiful. Like,
Yeah, trust me, I do it too. I'm like, oh my God, look at I want to like be the interior decorator. It's like, Melissa, you're in fitness. Stop thinking you're going to do this to your house. Like, I try my best and I'm like, it's never going to get there.
Yeah. But you put up a great point is that you have to know who you're watching. And of course, people are only going to show the best of the best online and they're not going to share all these things. And, I'm a human just like you, Melissa, and like just like everyone else. Like, yeah, I get stomach upsets too. Like, I'll eat something, I'll get food poisoning too. And people are like, well, how come you have a stomach upset? Or maybe I was stressed and my body was in a flight and fight mode and it couldn't digest at that moment. Like, I'm not going to have the perfect whatever like all the time,
That too. It's like they also kind of expect you to be 100% perfect. And it's like, okay, I am an advocate of this, but there is also life itself that,
Yeah.
it's like, I want to eat healthy and I want to make the best decisions for me. But sometimes that's not always available for you, right? You do your best in trying to do those things, but again, it's not always available to you. And also, you're not 100% of the time.
Otherwise, I mean, no one's perfect. I get sick, like, hello. I mean, I could take all of the things, all the supplements, care for and I will still catch a cold randomly. It's just, how it is. But okay, so I'm going to digress because I have to get to some questions here. Any popular exercises that are BS?
Oh my God, so many. But this is how I see it. If you are moving your body, then you're doing something good for yourself, right? Because you don't know, especially if you're not like a fitness person, you're not going to know everything. You're going to do some moves and be like, oh, well, is this, the best move? Is this better than that? People always ask that. Wait, so is that better than this? No, it's just different. And sometimes different exercises work for different people. But if you're moving, nothing is really BS. Now, if you have a specific goal in mind, then things start to become BS. I don't know if that makes any sense, because the fitness industry is such a it's such a scammy kind of world. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to get started. Honestly,
Yeah.
just like move your body. If you're moving your body in a way that's not going to hurt you, you're doing something good for yourself. I don't care what it is. You could be doing a side curtsy lunge. Like, yeah, that may not be, the most beneficial for the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get better results doing a hip thrust for your booty than you're going to be doing, on a curtsy lunge. But you're moving your body, you're trying, right? That curtsy lunge, it's going to tell you, hey, a hip thrust is better than this. So nothing is really BS. Like, they all work for a reason, like, that's why I'm saying even shitty diet plans. If you're somebody who's never followed a diet plan and you follow like a shitty diet plan, kind of like how I first did, you start to like ask yourself questions, like these things prompt you
Yeah.
to do things and to ask yourself things like, do I really like this? Like, maybe this is better or whatever. Everything is there to teach you something. Like, that's why, there are no like real bad experiences. Like, yeah, bad shit happens all the time, but there are also lessons for you to either learn, maybe you need that lesson a few times, but again, even like a shitty move will teach you something. So is it
All
really
right.
shitty?
All right. All right. So next question is, how do you stay motivated? I lost 60 pounds in a year, but my mind doesn't see it. This is a question.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, maybe switching it up. I mean, that's just the best way to go about it. When I look at fitness and health, now I see it as just something that I just love to do every single day, and I do it because it's become a discipline, right? And I know that that's like seems so cliche, but in the beginning you need like motivation. After that, it's about acceptance, right? I accept this is where I am. I feel good. This is my body. These are like, this is how I eat, and this is how I live my life, and this is my body. And all those things are correlated, and they have to make sense, right? Because you can't want a certain body type or a feeling and then not eat according to that, or not exercise according to that, or not live the lifestyle according to that, right? So it's like about making sense of what it is that you want and what it is that you're doing, right?
Okay.
And so, yeah, just kind of like accepting that, doing the things that you have to do for the goal that it is that you want, and maybe switching it up. I ride motorcycles now. I love it. And honestly, like fitness, I love fitness and I love it because it's part of my life, but it's no longer an aesthetic thing for me. It's just like, I love to lift heavy weights. I love to challenge my body. I love to, do a sprint, but I love motorcycles. And now motorcycles have taken, like this like higher priority over like my fitness as an aesthetic. You know what I mean? Fitness is more for me like, it makes me feel good and I feel healthy and I feel strong and I feel mobile.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Well, when you say motorcycles, that was my next question, because someone had asked, please ask her about motorcycle riding, how she got into it, tips, her goals, etc.
I love it. Honestly, I grew up thinking like, girls on motorcycles are badass. Never thought that I would ever get into motorcycling. Honestly, I didn't even learn how to drive a car until I moved to LA when I was 32.
Wow.
And yeah, so I got into motorcycles 3 years ago. I just took a class. My ex-husband, he was like, hey, you should ride motorcycles. Like, I've never felt so present in my life. And I was like, at that time I was going through a lot, and I took the class and I got my license. I bought my motorcycle literally within like 2 weeks and just started riding. And honestly, it's the best decision I ever made. I love it. I ride at the track. You have to be there at the moment. You can't think of anything else. There's nothing else that matters. It is what you are doing right then and there. And that feeling of being so present in all those moments is addictive, being present and just, it's honestly the best. And this year, hopefully, I will get my amateur racing license, and I'll just race amateur,
Wow.
just for fun.
Well, congrats.
Always challenging myself.
Yeah.
Remember I told you, like, I throw myself in the Shark Tank and then I figure it out?
Well, all right. Well, I can't wait to see. Hopefully stay safe. But yeah, that was actually a really fun question. We've got some fans. Do you believe in supplements?
Yeah, I think that me and myself, I take fish oil, vitamin A, vitamin D, like I drink protein at times. I'm kind of like, there's just so much crap in so many things, and it's just very difficult to know, right?
It's hard to navigate.
Yeah, we're not all scientists, and like we don't know what that word is, or it's just like you look at all these things and you're like, well, am I doing something better or worse for my body, right? Because at least that apple, at least it fell off of that tree and I can trust it, but like now this is like this man-made situation that now I'm putting into my body and people are telling me that I need. So, but I can say that I can feel the difference. Like if I take probiotics for a long period of time, I can actually, and I won't necessarily feel it while I'm taking it, but if I stop taking probiotics, I feel it.
Yeah.
That's
how a lot of people, yeah.
It's a crazy thing. It's like, you really do. I did really feel better. And honestly, I was like on a roll for like a couple of years. I was like, taking all of my supplements and feeling, I didn't realize how much it affected me in a good way. And so like, I'm back, like taking my probiotics, my fish oil, and yeah, I drink protein every now and again, just so that I, keep my protein intake up.
What's your protein powder of choice? Whey, pea?
Actually, I'm coming out with my own.
Ooh.
And yeah, and it's very, very different. And hopefully it will be out in the next couple months, but it's actually made from fermented mushroom. So it is considered whey, but it has no whey in it. It has no animal product in it.
Girl, I'm going to have to try this. This is crazy.
You are going to love it. Actually, I thought about you too while we were, just talking about like all the ingredients, and it tastes amazing. And I'm not saying that because it's mine. I think this is going to be something that is going to be really big, and probably a lot of other companies are going to start doing the same thing. But
mushroom protein.
Yeah. So it's awesome. And I can't wait for it to come out.
Wow. Well, congrats. Yes, I can't wait either. Okay. Well, speaking of food, healthy Dominican food recipes, please. That was another, what's like a healthy Dominican food recipe?
Actually, on my YouTube channel, I did like a whole year. I did a little like show with my daughter called Whatever, It's Edible. And
I love it.
I have a lot of recipes there of actual food that I eat on the daily. So Dominican recipes like plantains. So we have like mashed plantains. We have, we eat rice, beans, and chicken pretty much every day. There's spaghetti, like we call it spaghetti, but it's like a pasta. I mean, just a ton of stuff on there. So if they want to look, like we eat steak and the way we make chicken, like roasted chicken. But yeah, we eat everything. And honestly, if you're cooking it at home, I say for the most part, you can eat all the things that you love. But if you make it at home, it's automatically, it becomes like so much healthier. You're putting your ingredients. Yeah.
I mean, the oil you're cooking in, like everything.
So just make it at home. It doesn't necessarily have to be, something like super crazy and all this stuff. It's just like, try cooking more at home. And I know that's really difficult, but it's going to be healthier. You're going to feel better.
You're going to save money too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can do it with your kids or your boyfriend, or it's creating, right? It's finding that creative part of you. And with cooking, you get better at it every time you do it. And before you know it, you're making all this good stuff. And you're like, I don't even want to go out. Every time I go out to eat and I spend like $300, $400, I'm like, ugh, I'm always disappointed. I'm like, I could have made this better at home.
100% agree. My husband and I do the same thing. We're like, hey, like, let's be adventurous. Like, should we go out to like a restaurant tonight? And we're like, I'd rather just eat like a home cooked meal.
Yeah, totally. Like when you get to that level, then you're just like, it's just so much nicer to just eat at home, honestly. And so much nicer on your stomach.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I know you're a fan, just like I am, of Casandrino's olive oil, and Tony's stuff is amazing. So, all right. So last question here. I mean, we have so many, but just for time's sake. So this is actually, we've got a big fan. When is Melissa's next all gym workout coming out? I'm currently doing her 2.0, 8 weeks now, and excited for it.
Well, actually, I was just having that conversation yesterday. So I'm going to say in the next 6 weeks or so, I'll have another gym-based program up on the site.
Okay. Well, there you guys have it. All right. Well, obviously, I mean, we can go on and on, but if you guys want to know where Melissa is at, okay, Melissa, now's your chance. Pimp yourself out. Where can people find you? What's your social media? Go for it.
So you can find me pretty much on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok as Fit Girl Mel, and that's girl with a U. And, like DM me. I respond to everybody. Send me questions, email me at info@fitgirlmel, and check out my website, fitgirlmel.com, and my app, fitgirlmelapp.com. And you guys can join for free. There's a 7-day free trial if you want to join my app. And trust me, I got recipes. I have all types of programs that I write myself and that I have also done myself. And I encourage you all to check it out. And, I just try to be as real as possible and give you the experiences that I've had so that maybe you don't have to do it twice.
I love it. You are the real deal for sure. You got the hookup with all your stuff. And we'll put all those links in today's show notes for those listening. And we will hope to have you back soon.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Resonant Media production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Chris McCone. To email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.
If you're looking to take back your health, it's time for you to listen to the Real Foodology podcast. From the producer of Digest This comes one of Apple Podcast's top 10 nutrition shows, hosted by integrative nutritionist and real food activist Courtney Swan. The Real Foodology podcast is on a mission to change the way we eat. Courtney interviews doctors, food experts, health professionals, and nutrition pioneers to bring you the best info so you can thrive. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of how impactful our food choices are. But it's never too late to start on the path of better health choices. You'd be so surprised how resilient our bodies are when we start taking care of them. Yes, it's overwhelming. But that's why Courtney's here to help. She breaks it down for you and makes the information more accessible so that you can make more informed decisions in the grocery aisle or restaurant. Listen to the Real Foodology podcast today on your favorite podcast app. New episodes every Wednesday. Produced by Drake Peterson and Resonant Media.